It's the holiday season, and with that comes holiday decorations, including the Christmas tree, which for some dogs is a very tempting and fun thing to go explore. Today I'm going to teach you here how to get your dog to leave alone the Christmas tree, presents, but also redirect that behavior to whatever you need them to instead of chewing up your precious gifts or trying to get into the Christmas tree. Today, I'm going to cover each one of those details here on the Doggie Dojo. First off, you need to teach your dog how to leave things alone. I love to do this starting off with two different types of treats. One, a lower value reinforcement, and the other, a higher value reinforcement. What we're going to do is distinguish to the dog the difference between what you're leaving alone and what you're getting instead. So if it's a lower value reinforcer and you tell them to leave it, and they get a higher value reinforcer, not only is it two different things that they're getting, they're leaving one thing alone to get something else, but that increased reinforcement helps the dog understand that if I leave this alone, I get something better. Starting off, you're going to do what's called the iron fist. Keep your fist closed, and you're going to introduce the reinforcer to the dog. When the dog leaves it alone, you're going to say yes, and then reward with the opposite hand, or say search and toss a treat onto the ground. I like the tossing the treat on the ground factor because it kind of gets the dog chasing and moving after something versus being something stagnant inside your hand. Once the dog's getting better at this, start to open up your hand and see if the dog will leave it alone. If they do, mark and reward that behavior as well. If they continue to leave alone whatever you're asking them to, this is also cause to reward. You need to make sure that the dog doesn't always have to hear the word leave it or the chanting of the word leave it in order to continually to leave the treat alone. So we have to say leave it once, and if the dog continues to do so, we not only reward one time, 2 times, 3 times. About every 5 to 10 seconds of the dog leaving whatever you ask him to leave alone, they get a reinforcement. The next step to this exercise is to get your dog to leave it alone on the floor. In the very beginning, cover it up with your hand and make sure the dog is leaving it alone pretty good before you move your hand off of the treat pile. As they get better about this, you can actually start to move the treats around or kind of drop them from a low height and let them bounce around the floor. That adds excitement to whatever they're leaving alone, and it makes it more difficult, but it's also more practical because what we're going to be doing next is starting to involve toys into this game. Now you have to understand this. Your Christmas ornaments and their toys don't always look different. If you see here, here's a nice little cute Santa dog. It's stuffed, it's awesome, and it looks ripe for the picking for a dog to play with. So what you gotta do is teach your dog that when I say leave it to this object, you have to leave this alone. And if you do, I'm gonna engage you with a different toy. It takes a second for Frankie the Corgi to understand how to leave this alone. And once he does, then he's awesome at it, and he's having fun with me, and it's starting to teach him that if I leave this alone, I get to play with this instead. Now, not all dogs love toys, and sometimes it's hard to redirect dogs from one toy to another toy, and it's easier to do this exercise utilizing food, where you say leave it to the Christmas ornament, and then you say yes and reward by tossing a treat and saying search for the cookie. Here is the most advanced part of this game, and this is going to take a while for some of you to get to, but once your dog gets really good at this, start to pull out all sorts of Christmas ornaments. Here I have that Santa dog, a little Christmas ball ornament, and then also this little bone. Now that's going to be difficult because it looks like a milk bone. It looks like something the dog would eat up right away. So once again, Christmas ornaments don't always look much different than what they engage with food and toys. I'm going to spread out first the toys I want my dog to play with so that the dog starts to engage those and gets reinforcement. And then I'm going to carefully start to put out the objects I don't want my dog to play with. Now, you may want to do this one at a time so that there's more options for the dog to play with something that's correct versus something that is wrong. But as your dog gets better at this, you can start the process of teaching your dog to leave alone various types of objects. A little trick that I did here, and I noticed that helped Frankie, is I actually, this whole time I've been keeping the leave it area in the same place, which helps bridge the gap. But then once Frankie got the idea that I leave alone these toys and I get to play with these ones instead. Then I started to move the Christmas ornaments around the room in different places. Every time Frankie made the right choice, I not only sometimes played and had some fun, but I also rewarded with a treat. This totally helped Frankie understand that leaving these things alone is really important to me. Also, in his best interest to get more playing and more treats. Now, another important thing you have to understand is dogs were bred and designed to be foraging, and your Christmas presents and Christmas tree is a great place for dogs to forage in their mind. But we have to teach our dogs to forage and to chew and to engage things we want them to. So a great way to do that is to pick up a Pupford snuffle mat. These things are awesome, and you can go ahead and lay the snuffle mat on the ground and get some of your favorite Pupford treats and stick them into the snuffle mat and let the dog have fun. Because your dog is going to wake up every single day wanting to forage and look for reinforcement. And one of the ways you can actually help satisfy that need is using the snuffle mat. Now, Pupford has a super line of different types of chewies as well, both Himalayan dog chews and beef tendons that your dog can learn to engage and chew on instead of your valuable holiday items. Now, my last and final and probably my most important tip, give your dog a successful environment. This could look a couple different ways. One of the big things that you have to do, this is a huge warning, that you have to make sure that you don't leave any food items under the Christmas tree. No matter how much you teach your dog or work with this behavior, it's real important that if you know that grandma is sending her favorite holiday sweets, then make sure that box isn't on the ground until maybe Christmas morning when you're unwrapping it. Other things you can do with the Christmas tree, there's lots of different things. Some people will put some barriers around the Christmas tree, or even do what I've done, and I've actually put my Christmas tree up on a table. Now, my dogs leave it alone, but it's nice to have my Christmas tree up and off the ground as my dogs walk past it, because all these Christmas ornaments can be sometimes valuable to me and my family, and I don't want my dogs bumping into it and breaking it on accident. So having this Christmas tree up and off the ground has been a great thing for our family and has been very, very successful in keeping dogs out of the Christmas tree. So in review, teach your dog a good leave it command and reinforce with either a higher value treats or some playtime, and then also teach your dog the difference between their toys and your Christmas ornaments, and when you say the word leave it, that it's not a missed opportunity. A lot of dogs hear the word leave it and think, I'm going to miss out on something, but you want your dog to understand that leave it means I'm going to get something better instead. Redirect your dog to either a snuffle mat or chew bone, because they're going to wake up every day wanting to forage for food or chew on something. So if you actually get them the right things to chew on and forage into and work their brain, then they're going to be more than likely better about not getting into your holiday items. And finally, make sure to set your dog up for success in their environment, making sure that there's nothing on their Christmas tree that can hurt them or tempt them. And then also making sure that you keep the Christmas tree protected so that they don't accidentally knock any of those precious ornaments over. So make sure to go to the Pupford website to get your dog some high value treats so they can play these games too.